Kadosh, Erev Tov, Masechet Nedarim Daf Amud Aleph 381. We just finished off this morning by talking about love davka, that sometimes we start explaining something that we just spoke about last, and sometimes we start explaining something that we spoke about first, which means like this. I'm going to have a conversation with you, and I'm going to tell you, listen, there's an agenda. You know what's on the agenda? A, B, C, D. Sometimes when we're going to open up the conversation, we'll start with D, which is the last one. And sometimes when we open up the conversation, we'll start with A. At the beginning, we thought in the Gemara this morning, we thought that if there's very little details, for example, A and B, so then we'll start right with B. But if there's too many details, so then we'll start with A. But we disproved that. We said sometimes this, sometimes that. It's all the same thing. It's love davka. Okay? That was the first answer. If you want, you could answer a second answer. This is we are. Third line down. If you want, you could answer another answer. Yadot aidi deatia midrasha mefaresh lehon bereisha, which means like this. The yadot, right? We learn it from a midrash. And therefore, since we learn it from a midrash, they explained it first because it's very precious to us. Which means like this. Something which is written in the Torah, it's written explicitly in the Torah. So we know about it. So we know there's a neder. And then there's the kinui of a neder. The kinui of the neder is a nickname for the neder. So the neder was, right, the asur or korban, and the nicknames were kuname, kunache, kunase. Those were the nicknames, right? Those were the nicknames of a neder. It's a nickname. So if somebody comes and he says, this is a sur to me, that's a neder. This is like a korban to me, that's a neder. If I come and say, this is kunam to me, that's a neder. Why? Because that's a nickname of a neder. Kuname, kunache, kunase. Yes, this is a sur onto me. Onto me. Exactly. Kuname, kunache, kunase. Exactly. That's exactly what we said this morning. Okay, so those are the nicknames for a neder. Cherem is the exact same thing. Cherem is the exact same thing like a neder, but you're doing a cherem to this. You're not using the terminology asur. You're not using the terminology of korban or kuname, kunache, kunase. But rather, what is a cherem? This is a cherem to me. So that's a cherem to me. Again, cherem and neder is always on the object. Okay? And then there was kinuis of the cherem. What are the kinuis of the cherem? We said that, what were the kinuis of the cherem? You remember? Gentlemen, charaf, what was it? He says, charaf, haras, harak. These are a little bit less known than kuname, kunache, kunase. The only reason why people know kuname, kunase is only because of kal nidre. Other than that, no. But those are the kinuis of cherem. Shivua was on me. Shivua, I'm not going to eat this. Shivua, I'm not going to do this. It's not on the cheftza, it's not on the object, it's on me. That's a shivua. Okay. So you have neder and cherem, which is on the object. Shivua is on me. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do it. Cherem is on the object. Neder is on the object. Nizirut, everyone knows what a nazir is, right? The nizirut is something on the nizirut. So that's it. And that's what we finished the entire Mishnah. So, exactly. So now, the Mishnah, the Gemara says, now that we're talking about Yadot, what was Yadot? Yadot is that it's not a nickname, but it's like a subcategory. What was the subcategory? I am distanced from you. I am excommunicated to you. All those languages, I didn't use Asur, I didn't use Korban, and I didn't use the meaning I didn't use the nicknames of Kuname, Kunache, Kunase. But what I did was I said, I gave like another explanation that I'm distanced from you. So that's called yadot. It's like a hand. A hand is like an extension. So here it says, why is it that we started with the extension first? When we started saying, was at the end of the Mishnah, came and started saying that if somebody comes and says to his friends, I am mudar hana'ah from you, or I'm separated from you, or I'm distanced from you, right? That whether it's that I'm going to eat from you, or not going to eat for you, or I'm not going to eat anything from you, or taste anything from you. In all those cases, it's going to be a sur. Those are called yadot. Those are called yadot, but that's a sur because of a neder. That's called a yad of the neder. It's not called a kinui of a neder. It's not called a neder. Because I didn't say you're a sur to me, or I didn't say you're a korban to me, and I didn't say kuname kunache kunase. What did I say? You're distanced to me. Meaning you're mudar hana'ah from me, or you're distanced, or you're separated, segregated from me. So that's called a yadot. Yad is like a hand. It's an extension, but it's not the neder in itself, and it's not a kinui of a neder. It's yad haneder. It's like the handle, right? It's another concept. So that since
with the person,
Yeah, no, if it's a neder, it's always on the object, right? So he comes and he says, so therefore yadot, yad is a hand. So he comes and he says yadot, right? Why do we teach it at the beginning? Because since they learned it right from a midrash, so therefore from a drasha, that's why they explained it. So ask the Gemara, so what do we start with that at the beginning already? Meaning at the beginning of the Mishnah, how do we start? The beginning of Nedarim said the kinui of a neder is like a neder. Kinui of a shavua like a shavua. So just say the yad. So answers the Gemara, miftach patach bekinuin doraita bereish. At the beginning, we always saw something which is doraita. The doraita is the neder and the kinui. So that's what we started at the beginning. The hadar mefaresh yadot, I think in the drasha. But then afterwards, we're going to mention yadot because that's a drasha. Meaning, the first thing that we start is always biblical from the Torah. But then afterwards, when we're explaining, we're going to start from the midrash because the midrash is much more beautiful in our eyes because we learned it from the midrash. So says the Gemara, this is good according to the Mandamar. Kinuyin ze lashon nochri mehen. That when it says the word kinui, it means that it's a lashon of nochrim, which means that a person could come and make a neder bechol lashon. But according to the Mandamar, lashon shebadu lahen chachamim. This is a lashon that the rabbis they made it a novelty in themselves. Liota adam noder, that a person could come and he could make a neder. Michael, what are you going to say then? Because if you're going to tell me that this is also midrabanan, so everything is the Rabbanan. If you're going to tell me that kinui, right, is also midoraita, so it makes sense. We started with the doraita, and then we went to the midrash, which is beautiful, that we want to remind ourselves. You understand? But if you're going to tell me that it's also only all the Rabbanan, why? So it says the Gemara, miktani yadot, that we learn yadot, the lav v'chasuri that we already said that we're lacking part of the Mishnah. Aktim nami utani yadot, so too we should learn yadot before the kinui, and you have to learn it like this. Kol yadot Nedarim kenedarim. Bechol kinuye nedarim kenedarim. So that means you're right. We actually have part of our Mishnah is lacking. What do you have to put in our Mishnah? All the yadot of the nedarim are like nedarim, and all the kinuye nedarim are like nedarim. And these are the yadot. And then there we're actually going to mention about the kinuim, which is going to be kuname kunache kunase. Kunam kunach kunas. Okay, so therefore that's how you do it. So until here, what do we actually say? We're changing the Mishnah. Okay, remember, many times in the olden days, they used to learn Mishnayot how we do Bameh Malikin or Pirkei Avot. Did you ever realize Bameh Malikin? It's not reading; it's a tune, right? It's a tune. There's a tune to it. Pirkei Avot, it's not reading. There's a tune. So therefore, says Tiferet Yisrael, many times the tune didn't fit because of some of the words. So what did they do? They cut out some of the words. And because of that, that's the explanation, which means that we only made the main part. So that way, everything fits in with the tune. You understand? Because if it was too much of a problematic, they come and they take it out. Where do we see that? I don't know if you ever realized, but this is in every single Moroccan synagogue. Yeah, every single one. We come and we say, do you realize that whenever we sing, we don't say Leumat HaSerafim, right? No, we skip out those two words. Meaning, every Sephardic synagogue, not only Spanish, French as well. Every synagogue will come and they will skip out. What does that mean? If there's no tune, so then you say those words. If there's a tune, we skip it out. Yadot Hechaktiv. So where exactly is Yadot written? Remember, Yadot is an extension to this. So where's it written? So it says in the pasuk, Ish ki afli lindor neder nazir la'azil Hashem. When a person is going to come and he's going to make a neder, right? So therefore, a neder to be nazir to Hashem. The Tanya we learned, nazir lehazir. What does it mean now? Nazir lehazir. La'asot kinuye nezirut kinezirut. That means when it says when a person is going to make a neder to become a nazir, why did it say kafala lashon nazir lehazir? Again, one more time, neder nazir lehazir. Why did he use a double lambing of nazir lehazir? La'asot kinuye nezirut kinezirut, to make the kinui of nezirut like a nezirut. Yadot nezirut kinezirut, and the yadot also, right, like nezirut. And li ela benezirut, but that's only by a nazir. Meaning, why do we mention it by a nazir? The nedarim minayin. Why do we do it by nedarim? So Tamulumar comes teach you Ish ki afli lindor neder nazir lazil Hashem. From the fact that we're making a hekesh. What's a hekesh? Juxtaposition, proximity. The fact that it says neder and nazir one beside each other, so therefore it's a makish for nazirut and nedarim. When nedarim nazirut, what does that mean? Just like by nazirut, they made that the yadot nazirut is like a nazirut. So to nedarim, they made the yadot nedarim like a nedarim. Umad nedarim. So ask the Gemara 1 second. If you're going to make the both halachot apply to each other, umad nedarim over bebal yachel ubebal teacher, af nazirut over bebal yachel ubebal teacher. What does that mean? When you come and you make a neder that you're going to bring a korban, and you don't bring the korban, what happens? You're over an isur bal teacher. Bal teacher means is that you cannot wait in order to bring your sacrifice. Now there is only a difference, and it depends how long until you're going to transgress that sacrifice. Some people say it was one regel. Some people say shalosh regalim. Some people say shalosh regalim kesidran. There's many differences of opinions, but there does exist the concept of bal teacher. What is lo yachel? Bal yachel means lo yachel devro, which means if you don't do it, you transgress the words. So it says over here like this: Uman nedarim over bebal yachel bal teacher. So to nezirut also you're going to be over on bal yachel bal teacher. Uman nedarim, and just like the nedarim, the father does hafarat nedarim, ha'av mefer nidre bito to his daughter, and bal mefer nidre ishto, and the husband does it to the wife. So to nezirut, maybe the father could annul the nezirut of his daughter, and the husband could annul nezirut of the wife, which means like this. One more time. We are trying to find out now where is Yadot. We went and we brought a proof to Yadot from Nazir. So we said, okay, Chazak Baruch, we found Yadot by Nazir. What about Yadot by everything else? So he said we compared sorry. We compared Nazir. Thank you. You compare Nazir to what? To Neder. So we asked, if you're already comparing Nazir, because it said in the same pasuk, Ki afli lindor neder Nazir lehazir. So Nazir lehazir is Yadot. The extra, why did it say double Lashon of Nazir? Nazir lehazir. So it's Yadot. Neder Nazir, right? Lindor Neder Nadir, right? So if it has both of them together, one beside each other, we're making juxtaposition. They both have the same halachot. Just like by Nazir, there's Yadot. So too, yes, Pose Hekesh. So therefore, so too by the Neder, there's going to be a what? Yadot. So we ask a question. So why don't you apply all the halachot together? By Neder, there's Bal Teacher and Bal Teacher and Bal Yachel. Bal Yachel means Lo Yachel Devaro. You said something, fulfill it. Yeah, you say something, fulfill it. It's called Lo Yachel Devaro. Don't make your speech profane. How do you make your speech profane? If you don't do something, right? Ma? No, no. Okay, now what's the next one? Bal Teacher. What is Bal Teacher? Bal Teacher is that if you don't bring the korban on time. So says the Gemara. So no. I've got a question. Why do you need the hekesh? One more time. We went and we wanted to know where do we find Yadot? Yadot for sure was like it's like a branch. That's Yadot. Yadot is I'm not using the lashon of neder or isur or korban or all those things. I'm saying I'm separated from you. I'm distanced from you. I'm doing this from you. That is called Yadot. We asked, why is it? Right? We went, it's an extension, right?
How is it an extension?
That's an extension. It's a continuity, right? So now the question is like this. This is called Yadot. Yadot of a neder. Now the question is, how do we know that there exists such a concept of Yadot? So the Gemara answered, since he used a double terminology, Nazir lehazir, that's Yadot. Because they could have just said Nazir. Why did it say Nazir lehazir? Yadot. So says the Gemara, okay, but that's good by Nazirut. What about Neder? Says the Gemara, Hekesh. What's Hekesh? Ki afli lindor Neder Nazir lehazir. Since it says Neder lehazir, Hekesh. So we asked the question, why don't we just apply all the halachot together? Right? That just like by Hafara Nedarim, so to Bal Te'achera, well, why don't we do all that? So the Gemara comes in and says, 1 second, why did I need a Hekesh? Why? What's written? It's written, Ki afli lindor neder nazir lehazir. Just like by nazir, it's written a double language, nazir lehazir. So too it's written, right? Lindor neder. It says lindor neder. So the same thing. So then why? So why don't? So I don't need a hekesh. So just say if I have a double language, hekesh shalamali. Why do I need hekesh? So answers the Gemara. Ikatav. If it was written neder lindor, katav, then it's going to be good, right? Legajis gabe nazir lahazir kamarta. Lo tzarich hekesh. Then you don't need the hekesh. But hashta dichtiv. But now that it's written lindor neder, tibra Torah kileshom ben adam. The Torah spoke like a human being. You understood? Okay, very good. So says the Gemara, this is good according to the Mandamar that says that he says that the Torah speaks like Shomen Adam. But according to the Mandamar, that he doesn't hold of the concept of Dibra Torah Shomen Adam, that human beings speak, meaning that that we're speaking like the Torah is speaking like a human being. Halindor neder mayavli. So what does he do with lindor neder? Why does it say a double terminology of making a neder? So answers the Gemara, Dari Shle, we make this drasha, La'asot yedot nedarim kenedarim, umakish nezirut nedarim. We're making the yadot of the nedarim like nedarim, and we're making a hekesh, we're making a hekesh of nezirut to nedarim. Okay? Says the Gemara one more time. Dari Shle, since it's written, we wanted to make the yadot nedarim like nedarim, and a hekesh between nezirut and nedarim. So he says like this: Nazir lehazir, Dari Shle, we come and make a drasha. Melamed, it comes to each you give Lamubet 3b. Yeah, Sha nezirut chal ala nezirut. That nezirut is chal on nezirut. Okay, that's what it says. So that means one person could make a nezirut on another nezirut, which means that he could say he's a nazir today, and he could say he's a nazir today, and now he has to do nezirut 60 days instead of 30 days. Because Stam Nazirut is for 30 days. So if a person comes and he says, I'm a Nazir, right? Which means that now he has to become a Nazir for 30 days. And then he says he's going to be a Nazir again. So now it becomes 60 days. Right? It becomes double. So Ulman Damar, and according to Ulman Damar, Tibra Torah Kileshom ben Adam, that a person could speak like a human being. Right? V'nazir lahazir dash la'asot yadot nezirut kenezirut. Shenezirut chal al nezirut minale. How do we know that nezirut is going to be chal al nezirut? So Hanicha, this is going to be good in Sfirale if you're going to hold Command Amar and Nizirut, Chal Nizirut, that there's no Nizirut, which is Chal Nizirut. But if you're going to tell me that like the Mandamar, the Nizirut is Chal Nizirut, how do you know that? Because basically there's machloket, can you have one Chal on the other or not? Remember, one of them, can it apply to another or not? Which means, right, this happens nowadays, for example, in courts, they come and they say counts. So you have one count of this and another count of that and another count of this, meaning they're adding one thing to another. Right? There's a machloket. Can you have a nezirut chal al nezirut or not chal al nezirut? So neimakra. So why doesn't the pasuk just come and say lizor, nazir lizor, my lehazir? What does it mean when it says the word lehazir? Yeah, what does it mean when it says lehazir? So it says the Gemara Shema Mina Tarte. It comes to teach you two things. We're right by B'Marava. Marava is 2, 4, 6, 8 lines down. First line down. Yeah? Fine. Okay? Fine. So one more time. Since it says, right, lehazir, you're learning two different things. Yadot nezirut is like a nezirut. The nezirut is chala al nezirut. Okay? Until you're... Marava amre. In Eretz Yisrael, they said, it tana demapik lel yadot minet lindor neder. There is a Tana that learned Yadot of Nedarim from Lindor Neder. The Tana de Mapikle, and one of them learned it from Kechola Yotze Mipiv Yaseh, that everything that comes out of your mouth, you have to fulfill. So that means basically there's two different ways of learning the Yadot of Nedarim. Do you learn Yadot from Nedarim, from the double language of Lindor Neder, or from that anything comes out of your mouth, you have to fulfill. So Amar Mor says, what about 1 second? If you're going to tell me that, what about nedarim? A regular neder, you are going to transgress. One more time, for those that weren't here before. What is bal te'acher? You come and you say, I'm going to bring a korban. It comes the chag, you didn't bring a korban. Right? So then it could be a problem bal te'acher. I told you already, there's a machloket, whether you're going to be over on bal te'acher, whether it's 1 chag, 2 chagim, 3 chagim, does it have to be in order? There's a whole thing. But, right, there's a concept bal te'acher. Bal te'acher means do not wait to pay your dues. And by the way, the Rambam applies it, the same halakha, to other things, to tzedakah as well, and other things as well. Okay, so you have it as well. Okay, so now the question is, right? Yeah? Okay. So, Says the Gemara, right? Amar More says, Uma nedarim over bebal yachel bal te'acher. Just like a neded, you're going to be over in bal yachel bal te'acher. Bishma bal yachel the nedarim ishkachale. You could have bal yachel in nedarim. Kigon, for example, he said, I'm going to eat this food, or I'm going to drink this. He didn't eat it. So he's over bal yachel devaro. He profaned his language. If I come in and say, I'm going to drink this, and I make a neder, I'm going to drink this, and he didn't do it. He was over on the neder. But what's a bal yachel of nezirut? Bal yachel of nezirut, how do you do bal yachel of nezirut? How do you find it? So he says, Kevin the Amar, once he says, Hareni Nazir, I'm going to become a Nazir. Havel Nazir, he becomes a Nazir. Achal, if he eats, now he's going to become le beval yachel, which means he just became a Nazir. He came and take grapes, and now he eat grapes. He was just over on the Avera of bal yachel. Right? Shata kam le bal yishte. Now, what happens if he drank wine? Right? It forever, or? No, even if he did it once. Right? He did it right now. So he was over on the Isur. Why? Right? The second he says Hareni Nazir. Hareni Nazir means now. Now he's mekabel now. He becomes an Isur. It becomes an Isur. Exactly. Hareni Nazir. So Amar Rava comes and says Lavon alav b'shnayim. Right? What does that mean? The Isur of Bal Yachel. If you guys listen, you'll understand. Right? If you say here the Isur of Bal Yachel is by Nezirut, is going to be that if it's going to be over in the Nazir, you're going to be over on 2 lavim. If you're going to be over on the Neder, which you're going to be over on Bal Yachel and Bal Yishteh, right? And also the Bal, right? That means basically you're transgressing 2 different averot when you're doing this. So Bal Te'acher, the Nezirut, how are you over on Bal Te'acher now? Remember, Bal Te'acher was, I come and say I'm going to bring a korban. Again, machloket, whether it passes 1 chag, 2 chagim, 3 chagim. I didn't, right? There was a machlokot in the Gemara. Thank you very much. Right, one more time. I'll repeat it. Yeah, and I'll repeat it one more time again. Yeah, right. So therefore, right. So he comes and he says, if right now you do not bring it, you're ver on bal te'acher. What does that mean? You're me'acher. You didn't do it on time. So says the Gemara, Kevin de Amar. Once he says hareni nazir, havel nazir, he becomes a nazir immediately. Hamle, right? Aval. Hamle bebal yochal. But what happens is from now, if he's going to eat anything that comes from the grapes, he's going to be over on also bal yochal, that is in the isur of eating grapes. Because remember, the second that he comes and he says, right, that he's a nazir, he's a nazir. If he's going to come now and he's going to transgress the avirah, whichever the avirah might be of eating anything to do with grapes or drinking anything to do with grapes, he's done. Why? He's a nazir. He became a nazir immediately. Fine. Says the Gemara, what are we dealing with? Which means this. If a person comes and he says, Hareni Nazir, he becomes a Nazir immediately. Why? He says, I am a Nazir. Hareni, behold, I am a Nazir. However, though, what happens if he comes and he says, right, only when he wants? So he uses the term, when I want a Nazir, I will become a Nazir. So in such a case, when he comes and he says, when I want, I'll become a Nazir, he doesn't become a Nazir immediately until when he wants to become a Nazir. Now, the only thing is, though, what happens if it passes a certain amount of time? Then he could be over on the Bal Te'acher. I mean, just like by a neder, if he didn't bring a korban until a specific time, he's over on Bal Te'acher. You shouldn't make it late, right? Ichur, right? Achor, right? Is late, right? He didn't do it so early. So the same thing, the exact same halacha. So says the Gemara, ve'ima malek shertzeh. So leka Bal Te'acher. But 1 second, if you say whenever I want, when is there a time? It's not like Bal Te'acher of a korban. I come and I say I have to bring a korban. So then the Gemara right over there said, there's a machlokes, it's a 1 chag, 2 chagim, 3 chagim, is a 3 chagim kaseder, right? All these different things. Fine, I understand. You have to bring a korban. It already passed shalosh regalim. You still didn't bring a korban. Or it passed 1 chag and you didn't bring a korban. According to that shita, you're over on Bal Te'acher. But when you come and you say, whenever I want to do it, so then it's whenever you want. So how are you ever going to become transgressing the avirah of Bal Te'acher? Bal Te'acher means that you're late. What do you mean you're late? It's whenever I want to do it. I didn't say when, right? I didn't say when. So says the Gemara, Amar, right? Amar Rava says, Amar, that he said, Lo yipater min ha'olam ad she'yeh nazir. He will not leave this world until he becomes a nazir. So that from that moment on, he becomes to be chayav, a nazir, right? That means he automatically obligated himself to become a nazir. So says the Gemara, what's the proof? Imagine a person comes and he says to his wife, somebody gives a get to his wife, and he says, this is your get 1 hour before his death. He gave the get now, but the get is not chal now. The get is not now. He comes and he says 1 hour before he died, this is the get. And he gave it to her. He gives it to her. Asura le'echol b'truma miyad. She's not allowed to eat truma anymore. That means he's a Kohen. She used to eat truma. Immediately she's not allowed to eat truma anymore. Right? Why? He says over here, because maybe he would die within the next hour. And then retroactively it came out that she was eating truma and she's not allowed to eat truma. Almas, you see from here, Amina, we say, kol shata v'shata din mamait. Every single moment we're going to say, maybe he's going to die. Well, we don't know. So every moment, maybe he's going to die. So to here, immediately becomes a Nazir. The Amina that we're going to say, maybe he's going to die. So right now, he becomes a Nazir. Why? He went and he said, he's not going to leave this world without becoming a Nazir. So maybe right now he's going to become a Nazir. Why? Because maybe he's going to leave the world within 30 days. And he had to become a Nazir. So because of that, he becomes a Nazir. And then Rabbi Yaakov is going to say another example to do with that he's already in the Bet HaKvarot, but that's already Daftala Damudalef and leaving the